measurement of work, power, energy, and expenditure, the skeletal muscle and the nervous system, acid-base balance during exercise, and the physiology of training. Next slide, please. We are on the fourth slide. Now, to define what exercise physiology is, it is a discipline under the field of kinesiology or the science of movement, which deals with how the body reach the physical activity over time. Exercise is defined as the performance, conditioning, or training undertaken in respect to a particular athletic or sporting purpose. Now, exercise, next slide, please. Fifth slide is the study of what exercise does to the body and how the body responds to exercise. So that's what exercise. How the body responds to exercise. Slide number 6. Humans are designed to move, run, climb, crawl, walk, lift, and swim. Sedentary lifestyle can produce chronic diseases. Exercise is one of the best medicines that can prevent and treat chronic diseases. Um, but very few mainstream physicians prescribe exercise. Slide number 7. Physical activity is defined as any bodily movement produced by the contraction of skeletal muscle resulting in substantial increase over resting energy expenditure. Slide number 8. Muscles are the prime organs of movement. Please remember this. Skeletal muscle make up the bulk of the muscular system. Please underscore this. 50 to 60% of the human body is made up of skeletal muscle. Um, Muscle fibers, as I have mentioned a while ago, skeletal muscle fibers are classified according to how they utilize ATP. So we have type 1, type 2A, and type 2B. Most human muscles contain all three skeletal muscle fiber types, albeit in varying proportions. Slide number 10, please be able to know all of this skeletal muscle classification. Please know this by heart. Type 1 is a slow twitch muscle. This helps enable long endurance feats such as distance running. So an example of a type 1 activity is distance running. They are fatigue resistance and they're focused on postural control. Muscle fiber size is small, force production is low, resistance to fatigue is also slow, and the conduction speed is also slow. This contains high concentration of mitochondria and myoglobin. So this is used for energy. Now, type 2 is the fast twitch muscles. This has a lower concentration of mitochondria, but they produce a greater and quicker movement. You use this when you need power um, in movement, contact sports like sprint. Now, type 2A is also type 2B, so 2X is also known as type 2B. That's the next slide, slide 11. This produces the most force. This has low oxidative capacity and relies on anaerobic metabolism. Type 2A is an intermediate muscle fiber and is a mixture of type 1 and type 2X. It has a comparable tension, higher oxidative capacity, and fatigue, and this move slowly than type 2X. Now, moving forward, we go to slide 12. This is how we measure physical activity. Now, we measure this in METs or metabolic equivalents. Please remember this wholeheartedly. Excuse me. One MET is defined as the energy it takes to sit. So this is in a very relaxed state, quietly, on a quiet sitting. This is equivalent to 1 calorie per 2.2 pounds of body weight. So you convert that to kilograms since you use kilograms. So please know this METs, the definition of METs, because this is one of my favorite questions during the exams. Now, slight activity um, is the equivalent. These are the equivalent MET equivalents, MET equivalents. Um, Less than 3 MET is walking slowly, sitting, and standing. Moderate METs are scored as 3 to 6. This is walking briskly, cleaning, heavy hand washing, and vacuuming the floor. Now, vigorous activity has a value of more than 6 METs or METs, and this is equivalent to 6 miles per hour of jogging, shoveling the snow, or playing soccer. Okay, now after MET, we now go to VO2 max. That's slide number 14. So VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen the body uses during maximal physical effort. When you run or when you lift something, the maximum amount of oxygen that you inhale is termed the VO2 max. This is measured together with the heart rate, and the unit, please take note, is ml or milliliters per kilograms per minute. Okay. Okay, slide number 15. There is no standard value for VO2 max. The average sedentary males have 35 to 40 milliliters per kilogram per minute of VO2 max. That's the sedentary. And for females, the value is 27 to 30 milliliter per kilogram per minute. Elite male runners have 85 milliliter per kilogram per minute. Now you can measure VO2 max in a hospital setting, but if you know what fitness trackers are, they can also be measured. They can also measure VO2 max, but there's a margin of error of +5 minus values, reference values for a smart a fitness tracker. But still, brands like Garmin and Fitbit can give you a close value for your VO2 max. This is very, very so slide number 16 is the repetition maximum. This is the amount of weight an individual can lift at once, in one lifting. And is defined determines whether an object can be moved or lifted. Now we go to slide number 18, which is muscular endurance. 18, muscular endurance, which is the capacity to sustain repeated muscular contraction. Holding a position for an extended period of time um, is muscle endurance. Repeated bouts of strength accomplished to accomplish a task is also muscle endurance. Examples of this is carrying a ladder and climbing a ladder, respectively. Now, cells, we now go to slide number 19, bioenergetics, energy sources of exercise. Now, cells produce the capacity to convert foodstuff into biologically active, usable form of energy. This is the energy used to contract muscle, skeletal muscles, and the major force in athletic performance. Now, slide number 20, the fuels for exercise are your macronutrients. These are your carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. Please remember, take note of the calories that they produce per gram. Carbohydrates and proteins um, produce 4 kilocalorie per gram, whereas fats produce 9 kilocalorie per gram. You also have high energy phosphates, which are the immediate energy for muscular contraction. Now, in order of preference, the body um, prefers carbohydrates as the main source of energy, followed by fat, and the last will be protein. Now, we have what we call the basic energy systems. Slide 21. This is the ATP PCR system. This is 3 to 15-second duration only. And the glycolic system is 3 millimoles of glycogen breakdown. The ATP PCR and glycolytic system predominates during the early minutes of high intensity exercise. Slide number 22 is the oxidative system, and this is the process by which the body breaks down substrate with the aid of oxygen. We call this cellular respiration. Carbohydrates undergo aerobic glycolysis. The Krebs cycle, or the electron transport chain, is involved in this. The energy yield is 3 to 39 molecules of ATP and liberating 2,500 kilocalories of energy. Now, for fat oxidation, energy yield is 70 to 75,000 kilocalorie. Please remember this. Although triglycerides are the major sources, the human body favors glucose as the immediate source. Now, protein oxidation. Now, protein can be converted also into carbohydrates through a process of gluconeogenesis. You just remove the amide group and you have the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen skeleton, which can produce glucose by the acetyl-CoA pathway. Now, effects of body on exercise. Regularly. Aerobic exercise performed regularly over a period of 3 months or more lowers the heart rate. There's smaller rise in blood pressure, and the effects on body composition, which is the reduction of the amount of and fat loss is more evident in the central area of the body. So this means that exercise increases your VO2 max, exercise lowers heart rates, and there will be a stable blood pressure and body composition becomes optimal. You decrease body fat, there is fat loss, and there's an increase in lean body mass in the form of muscle tissue. Now, another benefit of exercise is that it has a positive role in bone mineral density. So it can delay the onset of osteoporosis, and the effects on balance and muscle tone improves. So you have an increase in flexibility, muscle strength, and walking skill. Psychological well-being and mood may reduce the onset of depression. Now, a while ago, I have a talk with an Indian medical doctor group based in New Delhi, and they told me that is this true? Gyms are still open in India at this point. I just don't know if that's true.
No, doctor.
27. Now, exercise imposes a great challenge to muscle physiology. In heavy exercise, the demand of ATP increases 15 to 25 times the energy expenditure at rest. Please remember that. Slide 28, transition from rest to light or moderate exercise, the oxygen uptake increases rapidly within 1 to 4 minutes. Oxygen deficit. Oxygen deficit is the lag in oxygen uptake at the beginning of exercise. We have what we call EPOC, or the excess post oxygen consumption, exercise oxygen consumption, which is oxygen consumption above the following above the rest following exercise. EPOC can result in improvement of body composition in athletes. This means that you continue to lose fat and you gain lean muscle mass even after hours following exercise due to EPOC. Now, the metabolic rate, the endocrine response is exercise increases the secretion of luteinizing hormone from the anterior pituitary, triggering fat catabolism, and there is enhanced carbohydrate catabolism. Please remember that slide. Now there is improved
Doctor,
buffering
doctor, actually, your
capacity
voice is unstable.
with regards to acid-base balance. Continue, we now slide 30. There's an improvement in buffering capacity. Individuals who trained on anaerobic exercise can tolerate high blood lactate levels, making them less prone to fatigue. Now, endocrine response to exercise as we continue, slide 31. Response to insulin. Exercise increases sensitivity to insulin, so that exercise is a good prescription for people with um, pre-diabetes, pre-diabetes, and mild to moderate diabetes. Exercise increases sensitivity to insulin. So this is specifically true for people with type 2 um, um, type 2 insulin deficiency. And there's also an increase in epinephrine concentration. So this also increases blood flow. Now, the psychological effects of exercise, this boost endorphins, so making you happy when you exercise. The increased testosterone also increases confidence and libido. Slide 33, the theory of muscle hypertrophy. Now, the body reacts to exercise by increasing its size, muscle size. So through exercise, exercise is an inflammatory stimulus to muscle hypertrophy. Now, this is the function of satellite cells. Of course, hormones like your insulin, your insulin and other nutrients will come into play. The rate of macrophage. So this is also there's a role for macrophage and other immune cells and growth factors. Oh, this is an error. Slide 34 is an error. When you exercise, the body reacts by when you exercise, injury happens. Okay, there's micro injury, micro tear, and the satellite cells are activated. They go immediately to the site of injury. They provide nucleus, and they can start mitotic. Um, they can initiate or they can stimulate the muscle cells to undergo mitosis and increase in size. These are the general training principles. We have what we call slide 35 overload principle. Regular adaptation. This is a regular application of a specific exercise overload. The principle applies to elite athletes, sedentary, disabled, and even cardiac rehab patients. So this is when you lift weights. So that's the overload principle. As you overload your body progressively with weights, you react beneficially. Specificity, slide 36, is adaptation in metabolic and physiologic system that depends on the type of overload imposed on muscle mass. So a swimmer, a boxer, will have different specific adaptations. Same is true for soccer players and sprint runners. We have what we call the SAID principle or the specific adaptation to imposed demands. So there's a specific um, increase in muscle mass to a particular part depending on the sport where you are in. Now, we also have individual difference principle. Humans do not respond similarly to for a training. Not all humans. This is exercise is not a cookbook. When people respond to exercise, and you also have what you call the reversibility principle, which simply means that when you stop exercising, you're back um, to a detraining state wherein you lose what you gain when you began exercising. But muscle have memory, and if you exercise again, you can return to your normal fit state. Slide number 38. This is quite jumbled. This is how um, the satellite cells assist in hypertrophy. So the myogenic satellite cells become activated when there's microinjury. They donate part of their nucleus to each muscle fibers, and some satellite cells become part of the muscle cells. Now, body composition, next slide, 39, is the proportion of fat and non-fat mass in the body. A healthy body composition is one that includes lower percentage of body fat and a higher percentage of non-fat mass, which includes muscles, bones, and organs. Now, slide number 40 is body fat percent is a measurement of body composition telling us how much of the weight of your body is fat. The percentage of your body that is not fat-free is fat-free mass. There are normal ranges for body fat, which differs for men and women. Now, 41, slide 41 gives you an idea of the body fat values for different body types. Now, the body mass index is very, very important also. Overweight, 30 to 34.9 is obese, and 35 is extremely obese. Slide 44 is the waist hip ratio. This is calculated as weight measurement divided by hip measurement. The waist circumference should be measured at the midpoint between the lower margin of the last palpable ribs and the top of the iliac crest using a stretch resistant tape. Hip circumference should be measured around the widest portion of the buttocks with the tape parallel to the iliac crest. We now go slide 49, special topics.
Doctor, we stopped in slide 45. We need to go for the 46th slide now.
46.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, 46 slide is you just remember the normal values for the waist hip ratio. That's all there is to it. Okay, the normal is 0.880 for women and 0.90 for men. That's all that you have to remember. Then you have the modified sit and reach test. This is exemplified in your slide 48. This is illustrated in slide 48. This is just a test of flexibility. Now, we now go to special topics. Um, Exercise on hot temperatures, high humidity, and dry heat reaction, exercise in cold weather, high altitudes, and exercise recovery, and the concept of muscle memory. Now, slide 50, high altitude exercise. Hemoglobin plays a crucial role in maintaining exercise. What's found in the remaining slides. Okay. Now the remaining slides, we're done with the high altitude exercise. We now go to deep sea diving. Now we breathe uh, oxygen, we breathe air. Air is composed of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. As you go down to depths of 30 feet, oxygen becomes scarce, breathing becomes difficult. The ability to extract oxygen becomes difficult even if you are using uh, a diver's iron lung. Now, if you ascend rapidly from uh, 50 feet and above without pausing, nitrogen bubbles formed. Now, these nitrogen bubbles, this formed in your bloodstream, and if this formed, this can cause embolization. Now, this can block your blood vessels and cause massive infarct. The hyperbaric oxygen chamber can be used not only for the bends, but it can also be used for disease conditions like diabetic. This can also be used for healthy athletes like athletes who are about to compete in a sports event. The high delivery of oxygen can maximize exercise performance. So you just remember the important points that I have told you, and for sure that will come out in the exam. Now my exam is very, very easy, and I don't think you'll fail. You'll only fail if you won't study because the exam my exam is very, very easy. So that finishes the lecture. So when will be your exam for this? What date? Mr. LO, what will be the
Yes,
date
doctor.
for the exam? What will
What
be the date for the
22nd
date?
June.
exam?
22nd of June.
End of June. So what day? What specific day?
22.
Okay, see you then. So please review. I'll get my questions from the slides only. No, do not read the book because whatever is found in the book is found in the slide. Okay.